Good evening, Susmita.
Good evening, everyone. So I can see some new name. Yeah, you're saying something?
Yeah, I had few doubts I messaged yesterday also. So can I just ask you right now? Like it's just quick three questions I have.
No problem. Manish, all the doubts I can clear after the class is finished, right? Like 9 o'clock. You can ping your doubts in the window, chat window. I will explain everything once the class is completed, right?
Okay.
Subhashini, is it your first class today? Subhashini, can you hear me? Okay. Okay. Um, okay, so quick revision, right? What we have seen in the last class. So we discussed about different things in pandas. We have one topic called series which is left. Most of the other topics like missing value treatment and other things we have seen. So I think um, we what we have seen, let me quickly summarize. So we discussed about different methods, fill NA and drop NA. So for filling missing value, we discussed about group by and pivot table, and after that we discussed about missing value treatment yesterday. So we have fill NA method, and fill NA method will take the value that you want to fill. And after that we have, if you want to fill with the immediate next value or immediate before value, you can actually use method equals to what, right? In method, if you write PAD, it will be filled with immediate previous value. B field will fill the missing values with immediate next values, right? And followed by drop NA. So what drop NA? Drop NA will drop any row. By default, x is equals to 0. If you want to drop column, x is equals to 1. And thresh parameter you can use if you want to set a threshold. And then we also discussed about is null method. And then is null dot sum will give you column wise how many number of missing entries are there. So all of this thing we will again revise, as I said, in this Saturday's class. We have Saturday, this Saturday we have class where I will teach you additional things in pandas. For example, how to apply a function on any column, right? And other lambda expression. I remember lambda expression we have not covered. So lambda expression and how to apply the function that we have created using lambda expression in one particular column, that we will understand. And also time series, I will tell you about if that column is a time data, then how to kind of handle it using pandas, right? How to convert it to pandas date time format. So those kind of things we will discuss, right? And then series also we will cover. So series is like 5 minutes topic. It is, if you know data frame, series is very simple. It's like list. Once you have created a series, all the selection indexing you can do using the index location. It's one dimensional. So one dimensional means there is nothing much. And you can use pd.series method to create a series from any existing data structure. Right. So that is what it is. And if it is one column in Excel sheet, you can use read underscore method. So we will discuss about series. It will take 5-10 minutes in this Saturday's class. So today what we are going to discuss is, before we jump into the next module, that is visualization, I want to make sure your concepts are clear, what is required for visualization. So visualization are basically bunch of graphs, right? For example, scatter plot, box plot, histogram, bar chart, sunburst chart, different kind of charts, 10-15 charts we're going to discuss. So you can understand the syntax, how to draw that charts, but until and unless you know basic statistics, you cannot interpret the results. Whatever the charts are giving you, you cannot understand the results, right? So that for that reason, we are not going to start or complete statistics, but only some basic topics of statistics, which is required to understand visualization graph. Those things we will see. And once the visualization is completed, we'll go to detailed topics about statistics. I will share you note after today's class, and also I will share the note here. I will display the notes, but let us not see the notes, right? And let me explain you or give you a summary about the note that I'm going to share. So what we're going to discuss today is very common topic. Most of you already know it, but this is very important. So how we will see, one by one plot we will discuss, right? One by one plot, and whatever is needed for that plot. Every plot has a kind of logic behind it, right? If you get a data, you need to understand what kind of plot you need to do and why you are doing it. That is very essential. For example, some plots will give you distribution of the data, some plots will help you to understand outliers, some plot will help you to understand relationship. So all of these things we will discuss. First thing, we will start with very common topic called mean, median and mode, right? Most of you already know about mean, median, mode. I'm not going to teach you what is mean, what is mode and median. Mostly I will tell you a very important topic in statistics called central limit theorem, right? Many times in interview and many times in other places you will read it. So what do you mean by central limit theory? So distribution of data, right? Distribution of data is very important in statistics. Distribution of data tells you a lot, right? Distribution of the data tells you a lot. There are different kind of data distribution. We'll discuss about normal distribution later, but mean, median, mode is very important concept. Let me first tell you the definition. So let's say we have a data 20, and then we have 40, and then we have 80, and then 10, and then 30. Let's say this is my data. So if I have to find the mean or average, I know what is the average, right? Sum of all the values. For average, I no need to sort my data. For finding average, I will simply take a sum of all of this element and divide it by 5. So whatever I'm getting, that is my average value. That is my average value. This already everybody knows. Now what is median? So for median, the middle point, median is the middle point. But one of the very important concept is, before you find a median, you need to sort your data, and then only you find median. So how to sort your data? First, ascending order, 10 and then 20 and then 30 and then 40 and then 80, right? Now what is the middle point? Then you need to check whether it is odd or even. If it is odd, it is the middle point. If it is odd, this is nothing but the middle point. Now if it is even, can anybody tell me how to find the middle point? If it is even, let's say the total 6 number of values are present, how to find the middle point?
Sum of middle two divided by two. Right?
Yes, some, or maybe I will say average, right? Average of mid 2 point, average of mid 2 points, two middle point average I will take. That is my middle point. So I think you already know about it. So what I will do here is I will select 30. What I will select 30. Why? Because this is the middle point. Middle point or median will divide your data into 50-50. This is your 50% and this is your 50%. So median is the middle point which will divide our data into 50-50 part, right? If I divide my data at median, it is 50-50. Let's say the median salary of data scientist having 3 years of experience is 15 lakhs. So what do you understand? Let's say there are total 100 data scientists. Out of 100, let's say 50% of the data scientists are getting salary more than 15 lakh, and 50% of the data scientists are getting salary less than 15 lakh. Median is the middle point, midpoint, right? So that is my median. What is mode? Mode is very common concept. Mode is the common occurrence. Now tell me what will be the mode. 20, 10, 10, 35, 20, 18, 10. Now, can anyone tell me what will be the mode in this particular case? What will be the mode?
10.
10. And why 10 is the mode?
Highest occurrence.
10 is the mode because 10 occurred 3 times. You can see here 1 time, here 1 time, 2 time, and here 1 time, 3 times. So mode is the most commonly occurring element. That is your mode. Now, if you understand this, tell me the mode in 1, 5, 8, and 10. What is the mode in this case? What is the mode? Anyone? 1, 5, 8, 10. What is the mode? Is there any one value which is repeated more than one time? No. So everything is same. Like mode is 1 also mode, 5 also mode, 8 also mode, 10 also mode, right? Everything is mode. Why? Everything occurred one time. Now in this case, 1, 5, 8, 5, 1. What is the mode in the second case?
We have two modes here,
Both
right?
1 and 5.
Correct. So both 1 and 5 are modes, right? So this is a very, very brief kind of introduction. I think everybody knows about it. The objective is not to tell you what is mean, median, mode. This is just a quick reference or quick revision. The objective is to tell you what will be the center, right? Central limit theorem. So we are understanding about central limit theorem. So there is a concept called central limit theorem. What do you mean by that? Central limit theorem means what should be your center. Very soon you are going to understand this concept. I'll give you one example, and from that you will tell me what will be the center here. I'll give you one example. Let's say you are doing a survey. Okay, you are doing a survey. How many number of days it is taking for the COVID positive patient to get recovery days, right? Number of recovery days. So you have done your survey on, let's say, let us make it simple, 5 patients, right? 5 COVID positive patients. And then what you found is the first patient has recovered in 10 days. Second patient has recovered in 8 days. Third patient has recovered 12 days. Fourth patient has recovered, let's say, 9 days. Fifth patient has recovered in 1 day, right? Now tell me, if I ask you a common question, the question is, okay, you have done the survey, you have done a survey to find out what is the number of days people are generally taking, this generally word, right? Generally taking to recover from COVID positive. So what will be your answer? How many days people are generally taking to recover from COVID positive? In this case, the generally is nothing but commonly, right? Commonly means you should use statistics. So you can use either mean or you can use median or mode. When I'm saying generally or commonly, what I'm asking is, I'm not asking you individual individual patient recovery dates. I'm asking you in general, what is the common trend, right? If somebody has corona positive, what is the common trend? What is the common behavior? Very important, general behavior, right? That I am asking. So to tell me the general behavior, what statistics you will use here? Average you will use, median you will use, or mode you will use, and why? Anyone?
I think it should be a mean because uh, we are talking about here how many days it takes for a person to recover. Means we will take average of all these recovery days.
Okay, so let us find out the mean, right? So what is the mean, anyone? 12 plus 10, 22 plus 8, 30, 39, 40, right? So 40 divided by 5, how much it is? 8. So it is making sense. Let me do some changes, right? Okay. Okay, so in this case it is 8. This is what is the mean. What is the median? Median is 1 8 9 10 12. So 9 is the median, 9 is the median, 8 is the mean, right? So in this case it is not much difference. You can use mean or median. Now I will do a slight change. What I will do now, what I will do is, let's say one person has taken let's say 60 days for recovery, right? I think some seriously he has affected, and he has some previous health issues also. He took 60 days for recovery. Now in this case, what you will use and why?
I think we should use the mode because this 60 makes a lot of difference when it comes to the mean because the mean will be more than 10. So if we exclude the 60, we have an average of around 8 or 7. This should be the proper value according to me. So if we sort it, maybe the median will become 8 or 10. So I think we should go for a mode.
Mode, you are saying mode means
Sorry,
commonly
median.
occurring. Median, right?
Sorry,
Yeah, you are
median.
saying median. Yes. Okay, so let us first find out the average. Can anybody tell me the result of average? So I think this is 39. 39 plus 60. How much? 60, 99, right? 99 divided by 5. How much? So whatever you are getting, right? Whatever you're getting, almost approximately 19 point something, 20 around, right? So do you think that is correct? I will say generally people who are corona positive, they are taking 20 days, around 20 days for recovery. Is that true? Is it really telling me about the trend? Answer is no, right? So you can say most of the people are getting okay within within 12 13 days. Only one person has taken so much days. So this extreme value in machine learning term, or in artificial intelligence term, or in kind of mathematical term, we call it anomaly, or we call it outlier. So what do you mean by outlier or anomaly, right? Anomaly or outlier are extreme values, odd values. Have you done that exercise, like odd one out, right? So let's say all are bird, one is animal, so you will odd one out. So odd values basically, which is not common. What is anomaly or what is outlier in one single line, which is not common, is called anomaly or outlier. Which is common is not an outlier. Something, let's say every time, every year, in your city when it is summer, the temperature goes from 35 to, let's say, 45 or 40 degree. This year it is exceptionally high, let's say 55. So that is an anomaly, extreme value, right? Are you getting? So outlier. So tell me one thing, if your data has outlier, do you think mean is a correct metric to tell about the general trend, or kind of center? Let's say the general trend is nothing but what is your center or common behavior. Should I use mean to represent the common trend if my data has outlier? Who can answer? Should I use mean if outliers are
No.
there? Extreme value.
No.
Answer is no, because mean will be shifted. So in this case, median is a correct approach. So this one I want to highlight. Most of the time, what we think is average, average, average. Always we take average blindly, right? And that is not true. In real time data, when you go for real time production data, you will find many anomalies. For example, because of COVID-19, many things has exceptionally high or exceptionally low value, which is not a common trend. Maybe after pandemic is over, everything will go back to normal. So I should not consider the extreme values, right? So if my data, but my question is, first of all, to decide what is your center, or I'll give you one real time example, what you understood how that is. I'm just erasing everything, okay? So I'll give you one example. Let's say you are predicting you are a doctor, okay, and you are a diabetic specialist, and you have many patients. You want to build a AI model where you can predict how many number of days, after how many number of days the patient will visit again, right, to you. Now you have records, let's say one patient 10 days, 15 days, 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, like this you have records, right? So these are the number of days after which first visit and second visit, the difference between first visit and second next visit, right? So this is the difference. Now what you need to do here is, first, before you represent the common behavior, it is very important to understand the distribution of your data. I'll give you a simple example. I'll give you three examples. This is one distribution, this is one distribution, and let's say this is one distribution. So what you infer in this particular case, if you divide here 50-50, right? So in this particular case, mostly outlier or extreme values are not present. In this particular case, some extreme values are present in the higher side. In this particular case, some extreme values are present in the lower side. So this is called good distribution. This is skewed. Data is skewed. What do you mean by data is skewed? Data has outliers or extreme values. But visualization plays a great role to make you understand whether your data is skewed or it is properly distributed. So you need to do charts like how I am showing you charts. Only charts can help you to understand whether your data has anomaly or not, because manually you cannot. Here I have 4 5 rows, right? Can you do this exercise on 1 billion rows, 1 million rows? You cannot, right? You cannot do this exercise on 1 million rows. So what you have to do is you have to do something called box plot. The first kind of plot that we are understanding today. Leave about the coding. We will see the coding, which is very easy, one line of code. But the result that you will get, until and unless you understand the statistics, this plot is useless. You cannot understand this plot. So box plot, the box plot is something is looking like this. It is very good plot for anomaly or outlier detection. What is the purpose of box plot? When you will do a box plot, you have number column, you have a numerical column, and you want to understand which all data are extreme, or you want to understand whether in that data outlier is present or not. Now why it is important to understand whether outliers are present or not? Because outlier can completely waste your model. I mean, outliers can completely make your prediction false, right? Or it can completely skew, kind of completely spoil your model. So it is very important to detect outlier and remove outliers, right? So you, if you remember the previous example, let's say 8 days, um, 1 second. So let's say we have 8 days, we have 9 days, we have 60 days, we have 10 days, we have 12 days. If I simply remove the 60 days, now can I take average? Will it make sense? After removing 60, if I find average, will that make more sense than including 60? Do
Yes,
you all
yes.
agree? Right? But somebody has to tell me 60 is an extreme value, right? Then only I will identify and remove it. So who will tell me? The visualization graph will tell me. This is called box plot. You pass your input data column and it will tell you which all values are outliers. How it is identifying outliers. Very important concept. So let us take one very simple example. Python, you just write one line of code. Yeah, please wait
Now,
for some time. I'll give you chance to ask doubts. Give me 5 minutes. Let me explain box plot. I will answer all your queries, right? So I'll take one example. Let's say 10, 20, 15, and then let's say 7, 80, and then let's say 150 and 200. Let's say this is my data. Step number one of box plot. I'm doing it pen and paper, right? So that you can understand what is happening behind the scene. Step number one is you sort your data and find the median, the middle point you need to find. So I have to sort my data 10, 15, 20, sorry, 7, 10, 15, 20, and then 80, 150, and 200. What is the median? What is the median here? 20 is the median. So 20 is something, 20 is the median. The median is a point which will divide the data into 50-50. We call it Q2 or quartile 2. We call it quartile 2 or second quartile. What is second quartile? So this is how my distribution is looking like. This middle point, the midpoint, which is dividing my data into 50 and 50. This is my Q2. I'll tell you what is Q1. Q1 is the point which will again divide this 50 part into 25-25. So this is Q1. And Q3 is the point which will divide the next 50 part into 50, 25-25. This is Q3. I'll explain what is Q1, Q2, Q3. As of now, you just understand for any given data, right? For any given data, you find the middle point, median, and your median is second quartile or Q2, which will divide your data into 50-50. Now in step 2, what you will do is you find Q1. In step 3, you find Q3. So in step 2, you take the first half, you take the first 50 part, you take all entire data, first 50 part, this part, and then divide this data into 50-50. How you will divide? Again, find the median. So this 10 is nothing but this is nothing but my Q1. This 10 is nothing but my Q1. It is called quartile 1 or Q1, right? This is called quartile 1 or Q1. Now what I will do is in step 3, I will do I take the next part. What I will take? 80, 150 and 200 I will take and find the middle point, right? So 150 is my Q3. Q3 which is nothing but quartile 3, right? Which is nothing but quartile 3. So in this case, if this is my distribution, the point which is dividing the entire data into 50-50 is called 20, which is nothing but Q2. Now, can anybody tell me Q1 will divide my data into what percentage? 10. Q1 will divide my data into what percentage?
25%.
This is 50, this is
50.
50, right? Correct. So here it is Q1. So Q1, which is 10 here, will divide here into 25, 75, correct? 25 and 75. This is 25, this is 25 total. In this point is 25 and 75. Now Q3 is the 75 point. This is 75 and 25. Q1 will divide the data into 20. Q1 is the 25 percentage data. Q2 is the 50% data and Q3 is the 75% data. Now why we are finding Q1, Q2, Q3? Because what we understand is all the extreme values are present either in the lower side or in the higher side. So within Q1 to Q3, it is 75% and 25%. The outlier will present either in between 0 to 25% or from 75 to 100%. So that is later you will understand what I am doing and why I am doing it. Using this three value, I can construct the box, the middle part. So what I will do here, this is the box and I will stop here. I will take all your doubts. So this part, this line that you see is called the median. What is this? This is called 20. The below line of this box is called Q1. This is 10. The upper box is called Q3 and this is nothing but your 150. So this is my box Q3, this is Q2 and this is Q1. This is 25%, 50%, 75%. I will stop here. Till now it is clear or any doubt? This box plot, we have not completed. Half we have done. Is it clear? Any doubt? Clear? Okay. Now the question is how I will identify outliers, right? How I will identify outliers. So I will set a threshold. So I will count, I will find out IQR. IQR is interquartile range. What is IQR? IQR is interquartile range and this is nothing but Q3 minus Q1. Q3 minus Q1. That is my interquartile range. So what is my interquartile range in this case? Let's say this is not 150. Let's say make it, let's say this is something 100. Let me make it 100, right? Let me make it 100, right? So 100 here also 100. So this is 100. Now what I am going to do is quartile. So can anybody tell me what will be IQR? Interquartile range. Q3 minus Q1. What is my IQR? Q3 is 100. Q1 is 10.
90.
So 90. So what do you mean by that? So this is the 75 and 25, the range, right? 75 and 25, 90. Now what I am setting here is from the lower boundary, from the mean or from the median, from here plus 90, from here minus 90. Within that boundary, so what I will do is I will set a threshold. So sometimes we can take 1.3 into IQR, 2 into IQR, 3 into IQR, or only IQR. Depends on the data by checking multiple options. Normally we take 1.3 into IQR, only IQR we take. What I'm saying is, tell me Q2 into IQR, 90 plus 20. IQR is 90, median is 20. So what is this? 110. So what I'm saying is upper boundary is 110. So this is my upper boundary. This is my boundary. What is the lower boundary? 90. So 20 minus 90, right? So whatever it is coming, let's say minus something, let's say minus 70. So lower boundary is minus 70. So this is my boundary. Whatever point is outside of this boundary is called outlier. Let me tell you one thing. So once I get my Q1, Q3, I will set IQR, interquartile range. and any point which is from here I will add plus IQR, from the median I will add minus IQR. That is my boundary. Now any point which is outside of that boundary is an outlier. From the lower side I don't have any outlier, but in the higher side 200 which is coming here, and this point is an outlier. Clearly in the graph you can see this dot outside, this is an outlier. Now whatever point is present within this, let's say here we have some other point, let's say uh, I have taken very few data. So within 110 and minus 70 whatever, what is the minimum and what is the maximum? Let's say one more point is there. Let's say this is 100, and then let's say this is 105. This is my maximum point. This is, let's say, 70. This is my minimum point. Sorry, not 70. This is 5. So this is how the box plot we will create. Let me repeat, right? Let me repeat, and also I'll show you the example by the graph, right? The graph. So if you see any box plot like this, box plot means you will see values like this. So what is this? What you will understand? Let's say this is how the box plot is. This is, let's say, 70. This is, let's say, I'm just taking random values. Okay, this is, let's say, 30. This is, let's say, this is, let's say, this is, let's say, 10, right? This is, let's say, 10, and so this is, let's say, this is, let's say, 80, and this is, let's say, minus 50 or something, or minus 20 or something, right? Or I can take larger values to avoid negatives. So what it is saying is your quartile Q3 is 70, Q2 or median is 30, and the 25% of the data is below 10, and 75% of the data is above 10. 50% of the data is below 30, 50% of the data is above 30, 75% of the data is below 70, 25% of the data is above 70. Now, all of these points that you see are outside of IQR range, 1.3 into IQR, outside of this range. That's why these are called outliers. So if you remove the outliers, whatever points are remaining within the boundary, whatever is maximum, that is the maximum. Whatever point is minimum, that is the minimum. So I think you are confused with this whisker. Whisker is nothing but this line, right? I'll give you an example. Let's say 10, 30, 50, 80, and then let's say 150 and something like that, right? Let's say 200 is my outlier, so I am removing 200, right? Because it is out of the boundary. Now after removing outliers, whatever points are remaining, whichever is maximum, that is the maximum, whichever is minimum, that is the minimum. You select the maximum point, minimum point, and join. This is called whiskers. What is whisker? So once you set the threshold, all the points which are outside the boundary, you remove those points. Those are outliers. After removing outliers, whatever points are remaining which are within the box, you select whatever is minimum, whatever is the maximum point, and join the dots. That is called whisker. Those are called whiskers. So actually box plot is giving you so much of information. What it is giving you? It is giving you so much of information. It is giving you about the median. It's called five summary table. Five summary table in the sense you can understand the median, you can understand the quartiles, you can understand the outliers, everything together, right? So let me show you. So basically this particular library we will discuss later. Just I want to, don't worry about the code, we will discuss later. So for example, this is one column, total bill. You can see, right? So this is my box plot. So when I'm coming here, you can see I have all of this information. So in the right hand side, this is exactly what we discussed, the theory, right? So you can see if I keep my cursor here, can you see the middle line is median? So the total or median 50%, 50% of the people has ordered food, or total bill is less than 17. 50% total bill is greater than 17. First quartile, 25% of the people ordered food less than 13, 75% above 13. Q3 75% is 24. Now what is the upper limit? Upper limit is 40.17 and lower limit is 13.325, right? Now interquartile range, if you find whatever is the interquartile range, so it is depends. Sometimes you can take from median, sometimes you can take from here also, right? So if you want to increase this boundary, let's say your client said, no, this points that you're identifying as outlier is not outlier. So what you will do, you increase the boundary. Instead of taking only IQR, you take 1.3 into IQR or 2 into IQR, sometimes 3 into IQR, right? To increase the boundary, right? But normally we take 1.3 into IQR. So what is this? This is nothing but from here you are taking this boundary, from here you're taking this boundary, and then whatever points are outside of this, those are called outliers. Those are called outliers. So you can see max. Now what is this? These all points you can see 50, 48, 45, 44, 43, 41 and 40.55 all are outliers. And then after removing this outlier, whatever is maximum, that is my maximum point 40. And then minimum, there is no outlier in the downside, there are outliers in the upside. So this is what is called box plot, right? You can see box plot. We'll discuss about box plot coding in detail, but I'll stop here. Any doubt in this? Is it clear? Not clear?
Ma'am, I
Any
have a
doubt?
question, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, can you please explain IQR once again?
IQR, right? No problem. So let me open the notes. That will be helpful. In the meantime, I'm opening. If you have any other doubt, you can ask. I will show you example. So the note that I'm going to share has many examples. We can go through that.
Ma'am, for the highest outlier and the lowest outlier that you have shown on the diagram, so plus 1.3 into the IQR and minus 1.3 into IQR. So that is a value, ma'am? Or
Yes. So this note I have collected from some lecture thing. This is really good one. You will get enough questions and solutions also are there. I'm just talking, we will discuss that later, but with respect to visualization, what is important, I'm covering right now. So you can understand all of these quartiles and everything. Let us go to box plot, right? So you can select box plot. It is, I think, the last chapter with example. 1 second. Is that, I think, after histogram, right? So this is your box plot. So very nicely explained. Every thing whatever we have discussed line by line, you can see one example. Basically this is how a box plot looks. I have already shown you some median and then q1 q3 and then outliers outside of this boundary. So how I got this, basically let's say this is a data number, right? First I will find the median. So the median of this data is, let's say, 54. First quartile is 50.5 and third quartile is 58. Now what is the second thing? That is interquartile range. Interquartile range is third quartile 58 minus first quartile, that is 50.5. If I kind of subtract third quartile minus first quartile, Q3 minus Q1, that is my interquartile range. So what is my interquartile range is coming? 7.5. Now you can see here first quartile minus 7.5. I was taking from median. Actually it is in this case it is taking from the first quartile and third quartile plus and minus IQR. So 50.5 is the first quartile minus interquartile range IQR, and then the third quartile 58 plus the IQR interquartile range. IQR full form is interquartile range IQR. Right, and then you can see the boundary is 43 and 65.5. So I will stop here. Is this clear how I got this, the highlighted part? Q1 minus IQR, Q3 plus IQR, that is the boundary. What is IQR? IQR is Q3 minus Q1 is IQR, right? 7.5.
We did 90 plus 20 instead of we have to do 100 plus 20. The last example.
No, leave about last. That's a dummy example. This is a real one. So is it clear now? If you see this, is it clear?
Yeah.
Right, now you got the boundary. Now tell me, 43 is the boundary in the lower side, 65.5 is the boundary in the upper side. 43 and 65.5. Now tell me what points will be outlier in this data. 43 in the lower side, 65.5 in the upper side. How many outliers are there? Is there any outlier or not? 43, 65.5.
6 and 68.
66 and
66 and
68.
68 will be outlier, upper
Correct.
outlier.
Yes.
And
66 and
45,
60.
so
Go ahead.
no
Yeah, go
ma'am,
ahead,
done.
Manish. Yeah. So 66 and 68 are outliers in the upper side, and in the lower side there is no outlier because the minimum boundary is 43 and the point 44 is included in the boundary. So there is no outlier in the lower side. Upper side 2 points, 66 and 68. So let me remove this 2 points, 66, 68. Now can you tell me after removing 66 and 68, what is the maximum point? What is the maximum?
62.
62. So that point I will join, that line will join to 62. In the lower side 44. So minimum is 44, maximum is 62. Now if you see this, you can understand. So this is something called the box. And once I got the box, this is my boundary. Just now I have created 65.5 and 43. After I get this boundary, I'm kind of finding the outliers, right? So now I will do the whisker. So whisker is nothing but 62 and then 43, right? Sorry, 44 and 62. That is my whisker. And then 2 points are my outliers, 66 and 68. So these 2 points are my outliers. So this is how the box plot is. Simple one line of code, but this the result, so much of statistics you need to know to interpret the result of box plot. So immediately you can understand whether outliers are present or not. Many points means many outliers, 1, 2 point. How many points are there? Those many outliers. You need to remove those points so that you will get a good result, right?
So Shashmita, what is the purpose of box plot? When we'll be using this? And yeah, that is my first question. Oh, another question I will ask them.
No, when we will use it, anyone who can answer when we will use box plot?
When it has outliers, in order to identify the outliers or anomalies.
Correct. When we need to first find out a way to find outliers, right? So identifying outliers we can do using box plot. Box plot will help us to know which all points are outliers in my data, right? So to find
So to
outliers,
make
we need box.
data evenly distributed, right? To identify the data which is evenly distributed. So to
No,
consider it as
no,
a
no.
even distributed.
For any data, you just pass the data into box plot. It will tell you all the information about the data, like whether data is goodly, like evenly distributed means normally distributed means there will be no outlier, right? If data has skewness or extreme values, you will find those things in the plot in terms of extra points, outliers. So the box plot will
Outlier
tell
can
you
mean
this
both the
one. Yeah.
it can mean both the sides. Outlier.
Sorry, I could not hear you.
We said sir, outlier can mean both the sides. Means below
Yes,
40
yes, yes.
also.
It can be any site, lower side, higher side. Whatever is outside of that boundary is an outlier. Very simple. So whatever is outside of 1.3 into IQR or IQR, that is a outlier because this is far away, right? Far away from the center or median. So that is what is called outlier. So this is one kind of plot, and once we understand the grammar, we will understand how to do it. How to do it is 5 minutes. Understanding the result, it's difficult. So if I will not teach you this and then directly if I take you to code, you will ask me all the doubts. What is this point? What is this line? What is this box? Right? So better to understand first and then do coding.
Ma'am, why did we do that 1 point into 1.5, ma'am? On the just be above
That
this.
is just a kind of, see, we are setting a boundary. Outlier means extreme point. So we are thinking if the point is outside of that 75%, 25%, the difference, right? We're taking as interquartile range. If it is outside of that means it is far away. It's not near. So if a point is far away, let's say take data science salary, right? Most of the people having experience in 4 years, let's say they are getting a salary 10 to 20 lakhs. Now one person is extraordinarily genius, is getting 1 crore 50 lakhs. So he's an outlier, right? So he's not a common. So if you take this point, that will be far away from the center, correct? It's the extreme point, extreme last. So how to identify? We will take a boundary. If any point is outside of that boundary, either higher or lower range, that is an outlier. Okay.
Okay,
Or
ma'am.
will be the limit.
Yes, the idea is outlier should be present either in the extreme high end or extreme low end. I mean below 5-10% higher range, below 5-10% lower range are outliers. Rest all are common data. So that is what is the idea. So far away, it will be very extreme value, very far away, not very near to the common values, right? Those points are outliers. Okay. So what we will do is we understood about outliers. This is something called box plot, very important plot. The second kind of plot, tomorrow I will tell you how to do it. Today we will understand the grammar. First we have understood about box plot. Second thing that I will talk about is called a scatter plot. Very, very important. So all of these plots are called statistical plots. These plots I think you are learning first time. These are something different than the common plots like histogram, bar chart, pie chart, right? So what is your scatter plot? Scatter plot is something which is called relationship plot, right? If you want to understand the correlation between two variable, I will tell you everything, don't worry. So relationship plot. So where to use what? Box plot is outlier plot, right? If you want to understand outlier in your data, you will be using box plot. If you understand the relationship between two numerical column, relationship plot between two numerical columns. So this is bivariate. Bivariate means two columns at least you need to pass. I'll give you one example. Let's say one example is your square feet, right? Your square feet and your house price, right? Your house price. Now let's say the square feet and house price. Square feet is 1000, house price is 60 lakhs. Square feet is 1100, house price is 70 lakhs. Square feet is 1150, house price is 72. 1200, house price is 76, and so on. So if I plot this data, right, in X and Y, let's say X-axis is my square feet and Y-axis is my house price. Do you agree that I will get some pattern like this? Let's say this is 1230 and this is, let's say, 69, and so on. So let's say 60, 70, 72, 76, 69, right? So square feet is this and this. So 1,000, and let's say this is 1000 and this is 60. This is 60, this is 1000. So one point like this, if I plot all of this, how many rows? Those many points I will get, right? So this kind of plot is called scatter plot. So all the dots, right? This is called my scatter plot. So this plot will give me so much information. What I want to understand, why I'm doing this plot. I want to ask myself this question, whether house price is dependent, right? Whether house price is dependent on square feet. Means what? If I'm increasing or decreasing the square feet, whether house price is impacted or not, whether my house price or Y is proportional to X, or is there any relationship present between house price and square feet? If I increase my house price, square feet will also increase or decrease, or either way, if I increase my square feet, my house price will increase. Will it increase or decrease, or something will happen, or house price is independent of square feet? Let's say doesn't matter whatever is the square feet, the house price is not at all depending on square feet. So that kind of question to answer, I will do a scatter plot. Scatter plot is nothing but all the points you will just represent in a two-dimensional space, just one point. Now in this particular case, if you see this plot, can anybody guess, is there any relationship between house price and square feet? Do you think house price is increasing or decreasing if I increase or decrease square feet, or house price is independent? Anyone? Just looking at this graph. What do you
No,
Increase
understand?
it's
dependent.
increase.
Clearly I can see a pattern, right? And this pattern is called a straight line pattern. So if you find a pattern like this, what it indicates, if you increase your X, Y is also increasing. If you increase your X, Y is also increasing. If you decrease, if you go in reverse way, if you decrease your square feet, house price is also decreasing. So square feet is increasing, X is increasing, house price is increasing. Square feet is decreasing, house price is decreasing. So is there any pattern exist? Yes. Square feet is directly proportional, house price is directly proportional to square feet, both are linearly proportional. So this is called scatter plot. What scatter plot will give you? Scatter plot will give you an information whether data is linearly proportional or not. Linear means what? Straight line, right? Or kind of X is directly proportional to Y. If something is happening to X, Y will obviously have some changes. I'll give you one more example. So this is called positive. I'll give you later, but let me give you one more example. Let's say age of the house, how old the house is, and then the price of the house. The house is 5-year old, price is 90 lakhs. The house is 8-year old, the price is 70 lakhs. The house is 1-year old, the price is 98 lakh, and so on. So if I plot this data, let's say this is my house price and this is my age of the house, and I'm getting a point. Let's say this is what my scatter plot is, right? This is what my, sorry, I'm wrong, sorry. So let's say this is how my scatter plot is, right? This is how my scatter plot is. This is my house price and this is my age. Now, can you tell me in this case, do you think there is any relationship between house price and age of the house, or there is no relationship? If yes, what is that?
Decrease in the
They are inversely proportional.
Inversely proportional. Very nice answer. So yes, decreasing, correct. So if I will increase my age, obviously if the house is getting more and more older, the house price is reduced. So it is a relationship exists. No doubt that the relationship exists. Relationship exists means what? If age is increasing or decreasing, something happened to house price, then there is relationship, linear relationship exists, we will say. Now if age is increasing, house price is decreasing, and if the age is decreasing, house price is increasing, right? So this is called negative relation, this is called positive relation. If I, from the scatter plot, if you see a pattern like this, a pattern like this is positive correlation. Correlation means relationship between two variable. This is called positively correlated. I will say house price is positively correlated with square feet. In this case, I will say house price is negatively correlated with age. If somebody is telling you negatively correlated, immediately you need to think, okay, if one is increasing, other will decrease. If other is increasing, this will decrease, right? Negatively and positively correlated. Now, let's say one more example. Let's say number of bedrooms and then the house price. Let's say in this case, house price is not dependent on this particular number of bedroom. Let's say I'm getting scatter plot. This is number of rooms, right? Or number of, let's say number of doors, maybe number of doors present in this house. Uh, this is my price of the house, and this is my number of doors present. And when I did the scatter plot, this is what I got. Now, in this case, can you tell me, do you find any pattern? Do you think price is dependent on doors? I said, this is how I got the scatter plot,
No.
right? Do you think there is any relationship? Answer is no. So then will you use door to predict price? Is door is an important
No.
column here, do you think? Answer is no,
No.
right? So this feature, like all the features are not important, right? Yesterday only I was telling, so there are statistical interpretation. So we will analyze a lot before before selecting features. So in this case, I know that doesn't matter number of doors. Let's say I'll give you one example. Uh, Number of door is 8, house price is 90 lakh. Number of door is 10, house price is let's say 70 lakh, right? Number of door is let's say 7, house price is 72 lakhs. Number of door is like random, number of door is 6, and then house price is 150. So this house price here, what I will understand, okay, if my number of door is increasing, house price is reduced. Here number of door is reducing, house price is increasing. So no pattern exists. I cannot conclude anything about the house price based on doors, right? All the all the data is scattered here and there. So if I increase my doors, I cannot guarantee that house price will increase. Neither I can guarantee it will decrease. I don't know any relationship. Like it is independent. Price is really does not dependent on the number of doors, whereas price is dependent on the square feet. Price is dependent on the age of the house. There is positive and negative correlation. In this case, price is independent of doors, or y and x. There is no correlation exist. Y is independent of x. So that is the interpretation of scatter plot. Very, very important plot. Scatter plot will give you either some pattern or complete random. If complete random, both are independent. Some pattern, positive or negative, you can find out. Now, if I show you a scatter plot, can you tell me a lot about the columns to number? One thing to notice, both of the x and y are numbers, numerical column, right? So looking at these patterns, you can understand whether x and y are positively correlated, negatively correlated, independent. What is the relationship? If you want to understand the relationship, you will use scatter plot. If you want to understand outliers, you will use box plot. Is it clear so far?
Yes.
I think new joiners, are you
Yes, ma'am.
getting like, yeah, Subhashini and yes, Naga. Okay. Okay, so so if you go to our how to do it, it is easy. We will discuss that. In tomorrow's class. I can show you some example. Let me erase everything, right? Yeah, so here instead of box plot, this library we will see, don't worry. So we'll see about it very detailed. Let me search about scatter plot. So so we will understand about scatter plot in detail, but I just want to show you some example, right? So that you can understand what I'm saying. So some column, let's say this one, right? Is there any good pattern? Okay, so let us take this pattern. Don't worry about the data. We will understand that. So there are different colors. So take one color. Okay, let me only select this blue color, right? So in this particular example, we have a relationship, but this is not very kind of strong. But what I mean to tell you is leave about entire data. Don't see the entire data. Now, if you see only blue color, do you think some pattern exists between two columns called sepal width and sepal length? Only for blue dots. Do you think some pattern exists? Right? There are some pattern exist. So what I understand is if I increase my sepal width, what will happen to sepal length for blue color?
It will also increase.
It will also increase, right? And it is quite strong as compared to the other green one, right? If I see the orange one, there are some patterns, but green one, I think it is not very strong. You can see some randomness, right? Though it is some relationship exist, right? It's not completely scattered, but it's not very strong like blue. Are you getting? So sometimes what is happening is if I increase sepal width, sepal length is also not increasing, but most of the time it is happening. So this is just an example. You will find so many relationship plot using box plot, sorry, using scatter plot later in the course. Maybe tomorrow I will explain you the detail about how to do it. But is it clear where to do what? Today we discussed two plots. One is outlier plot, that is box plot, and one is scatter plot. Also three concept: mean, median, and mode, interquartile range, Q1 and Q3. All of this concept, is it clear or not? I'm going to share you this note, very nice note. We have not completed this note, but whatever we have seen, like we have seen the central limit theory, mean, median, mode, and we have discussed about, leave about the second chapter, we will discuss later. But box plot you can see last chapter, right? Solution, chapter 5, box plot we have seen. So you can see this, right? Today after the class you can go and read the notes. Is it clear? Any doubt? We are all good?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Okay. So as a data scientist, you should be very expert. Also as a data analyst, you should be very expert in plots. It's not like whatever plot you know, every plot you will copy paste the code. No, there should be some statistical meaning, right? If you really want to understand the outliers, you should go for box plot. If you want to understand distribution, you should go for histogram. If you want to understand relationship, you should go for scatter plot. If you want to understand about, let's say, many categories you want to see, then per group wise you want to see the results, pivot table or group by results. If you want to see, then go for bar chart. So every chart has a meaning behind it, and based on what you need to call that particular plot. Not every plot will be helpful. Because why I'm explaining you so much, when you show the results to your like your job is not to generate this plot, your job is to explain this plot, right? Explain this plot to the stakeholder. By looking at this plot, your stakeholder will ask you what you understand from this plot. What is the result, what you want to show me, why this plot you have done, what is the purpose of this plot. Everything you need to explain, right? That is important. Okay. So we'll stop here, and I think Manish, you have some doubt, right? Others can drop. Let me answer his doubts, right? If you want to listen, you can. Otherwise, you can drop, and we'll continue from here tomorrow. And one last thing, who all joined newly? I think Naga and Subhasini. You have joined only for statistics and ML, correct? You have, yes. So
This is Nagaraj, Smita. Yes, I've attended previously also.
no, Nagraj, I know you. I think okay.
Okay.
You joined. Naga is there. Naga.
Oh, okay. No, it's
Yes.
Nagaraj. Okay. Okay, no problem.
Yes. So Subhasini and Naga, right? So if you join only for, if you know Python core and NumPy pandas, you are good to start, right? We are in visualization. After visualization, we will be going for statistics and machine learning. So you have not missed anything. Now, if you want to join from scratch, you want to understand pandas, NumPy, and also core Python, then you can join morning batch 7:30, which is a fresh batch. uh, the 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 people who already know Python, I don't want them to repeat again, right? Most of you already know core Python, and many of you are working already as a Python developer, so you must have used pandas. So if you already know, then this is the right place. You can understand from today onwards. This is something called visualization, which we are starting. Is it clear, Subhasini and Naga? So what we have completed before is core Python and advanced Python. If you have the syllabus till pandas, we have completed. And also we will do revision in this Saturday. Pandas also we will revise. So you can understand if you have little background. You want to ask anything, Naga and Subhashini, basically, who joined today? Okay, Subhashini, you want to understand pandas and NumPy, right? You can contact me, right? One-to-one, Subhashini, so we can discuss. Naga, what about you? You already know Python core, or you are, may I know your background a bit? Huh. May I know your background? Naga, you're there? Okay. Working as a DBA, database administrator. Okay, great. Then you have a very good understanding in SQL. You can
Yeah,
unmute and speak.
yeah. This is Naga. Yeah, actually, yeah, is data science is related to development, am I right? We are writing the Python code and R programming using Jupyter Notebook and PyCharm, right? Am I right?
Yes, yes. You're correct. Basically, if you have seen the syllabus, I'll answer only one time to Nagraj. I think he's asking for group by and pivot table. I think yesterday I told you, Nagraj, so we are very sorry. I think something happened. Video is not recorded. The class, the group by pivot table class is not recorded by some mistake, right? I also checked in my local system. It is not there with me. Neither it is there with Institute. So let me know if you are not clear. I will try to upload from previous batch. Otherwise, if it is clear, then we can stop. Right? But that video is not available.
Ma'am, actually, I was not there in that class. Can you please upload, ma'am?
You
Yes.
are not there. Okay, no problem. So in that case, previous batch. So what is the problem with previous batch? Only that group by pivot table is not there. Other topics are also there. I think that is okay, right? Are you getting? So only pivot table group by, along with that some other concept of pandas are also there. So it will be repetition, but you can forward it. Right. I will upload
Yes.
from previous batch.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll tell Institute, they will upload it. Yeah. Okay. Others you can drop if you don't have any doubt. Manish, you have some doubt, right?
Yeah, hello.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
yeah. In this data science course, we can use Python and R programming. We can develop the applications using Jupyter Notebook and using PyCharm, right? Am I right?
Yes. Okay. Naga, if you are coming from a complete beginner background, do you have time morning 7:30? Will that time work for you? Morning 7:30.
Yeah, sure, definitely. Yeah, when will start? 7:30.
7:30 batch is completely fresh batch. We just have done Python installation. Nothing has been covered. So I'll recommend
Okay.
you to join the morning batch, not this batch. Why? Because this batch I will recommend only for those people who already know Python and just want to learn machine learning and visualization statistics. But if you
Yeah,
are a
yeah,
background,
yeah.
yeah. So I think for you, the morning batch is good. Can you join tomorrow morning 7:30, Naga? It is a complete fresh batch. You will understand everything. From scratch, we are starting. 7:30 morning tomorrow.
Yeah, sure, definitely. I have knowledge on Python and Django and R programming.
Okay, that's okay. So core Python we will complete soon. Within I think 1 week we will complete. That also will go slow. Half an hour only this week we'll connect and we will complete core Python. Pandas and NumPy, it's very important module. So if you know it, you can directly join this batch or you think you can learn yourself. But if you don't know it, my recommendation is join the morning batch. Now it's up to you. If you can learn NumPy and Pandas by yourself or by going through the recordings, you can join or continue this batch. If you want to understand NumPy and Pandas, please join the morning batch and leave about core Python. I complete core Python very fast within 2-3 hours maybe. But
Okay.
NumPy
Yeah.
Pandas, it will take some time, right?
Yes. Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Right?
Can I get? Yeah. Can I ask another question? Can I ask another query?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. But actually, can I get recordings, previous recordings? Is it possible? Can,
Previous recording, yeah. I mean, if you're joining this batch, you have to go through previous recording. Yes, you will get. Once your enrollment is confirmed, you will get the
okay.
previous recording, and then you can go through. So as I said, you are already knowing core Python. So if you spend
Yes.
some 4 hours, yes. So 3-4 hours if you spend, right? Like you can, I think, fast forward, and Pandas and NumPy you can understand, right? And Naga and Subhashini, you can call me separately. I'll talk to you. I'll guide you what all things has been covered, right? So that it will help
Yeah.
you. Subhasini, you can also do the same thing. If you want to continue this timing, this batch, you can join and NumPy and Pandas, you can go through the recordings. Is it okay for you, Subhasini? Are you there?
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Yes. I
Yeah.
got it. Yeah.
Yeah, Manish, you are waiting. So you can ask your doubts and then everybody, others you can drop. So you can drop. The class is over. I'm just talking. Yeah. Yeah, Manish, go
Yeah.
ahead.
So, ma'am, the very first doubt is there any like SQL? Does Panda has a rollback command or rollback option when we do in place, when we execute in place? And then do we have, after in place, can we do a rollback in that case?
Actually, I think it is not available. Rollback in pandas, I think in place means permanently it will do changes. So what you can do is ideal ways, instead of writing in place, you store the value in another data frame. Right? Are you getting? So don't use in place. df2 dot let's say drop na or something, right? And you do whatever operation equals to df3. df3 equals to df2 dot whatever you want to do. So whatever is the result, df2 will be as it is. The result will be stored in df3, a new data frame, right? So df2 will not be having any changes. It will be as it is. But if you write in place equals to true, then it will change this thing.
The whole data frame. Hello?
Sorry? Yeah.
So it will replace the whole data frame, the actual data frame.
Yes, it will replace the whole data frame. Yes.
Okay, ma'am, do we are there a kind of arrangement of writing procedures in pandas?
Procedures in Python, mostly you can write if you are going for this thing, right? Part 2, not in part 1, but when you go for modeling, normally we write most of the things in function way. Like we will create not procedures but modules, right? Like your class, and within that define the functions, and one more script we will simply call those functions. If when we are productionalizing the code, that is how we write the code. For testing, that is okay, you can write everything in one Jupyter. But when you're going to productionalize, obviously if you have some database, the connection and the password and port ID, everything we will write in one script. The other connection, let's say pre-processing, some of the function you will write in another script. For modeling, you will write another script, the functions, and there will be one main function when you will call all of the functions that you have defined. I think people from software background can understand what I'm saying. For that, you need a basic knowledge about OOPS, object-oriented programming. But that is okay. Like later you can understand. Yeah. And
So
you're
are we
getting
going to
Durga's as
perform such
recording.
kind of project during DS1 and DS2? Are we going to
So
perform these
see,
all things?
yeah, we actually, you have this Durga Sir's recording, right? For decorator, generator,
Yes.
functions, object-oriented concept, modules, packages, regular expression, file handling, exception handling. Huge list is there. Please go through that. That will complete your Python series. Having said that, in this particular course, I think in part 2 we will be doing it. Advanced. We have to write classes and other things.
Okay, ma'am. And ma'am, second last question. Have you discussed the pd.set underscore option?
Yes, yes, we have discussed.
Okay, so I'm trying with that by giving the argument of display dot max number of columns and display dot max number of rows. But like, what is the stepwise? When should we call that? Because when
No,
I'm
no.
doing a data frame, the step like when I'm importing the CSV file, then creating a data frame, and after that I'm doing this pd.set option. And when I'm calling the data frame, it's not getting displayed, ma'am. So is there any
No,
special?
no, I think
Yes.
you are doing some syntactical mistake or something. So initially in the import, very first cell only you need to write this, very first cell. When you start your coding, the very first, when you import all the packages, there only you need to write this set options, right? I think which is the file, I think this one, not this one. So in the very first cell, here, wherever you're doing import, let's say here I'm doing import. So here I will write the import set option and run it, so that rest all cell will kind of give you the complete view. So you know, right, what set option will do. So it will give you a complete view. You can scroll and then see all the columns and all the rows. I think you're doing some syntactical mistake. Please check. I think, is it there in the code? No. If then I will, I think, share the class note. I think it is there, is it
What?
there in A to Z? No, right? I will add
I
it
don't
and
think.
then update it. Yeah.
Because what I was doing, I was mentioning, considering that the df1 is my data frame. So I was doing df1 is equal to pd.set option underscore option,
Mhm.
then display, and again for column and for row, and then calling df1 again. So it was not getting. So you are trying to say that when I'm importing the package, then at that time only I have to mention the
Yes,
same thing.
yes, correct. In the very first cell, you need to write it.
So it should be directly starting as import pd dot set or only
Underscore
pd
options.
dot set.
No, you can write
So
PD set underscore. You can always take help from official documentation site. You go to Google and type PD set option. You will get a complete syntax. So I think you're doing some syntactical mistake. That's why maybe it is throwing error, or maybe you are running it in other cell, not in the first. So run in the first so that it will be stored in the memory, and then rest all cells you can see the complete view of the data frame that you're loading.
okay, then ma'am, one last doubt. What I was doing is df.log loc, and then I was giving for a row. The very first parameter of the argument is the row. So in the case of row, I was giving a range like a slice function 0 to 3. So 0 to
Mm-hmm.
3 column row, then comma, and I was giving the next argument for the columns. But then in the columns, I saw that I was able to call the n number of columns, but can't be done with the combination of, like, if I have to call the 0 to 4, so
Yes,
0
yes.
colon 4,
Zero.
and
Yeah,
then,
you can do. You do that. Zero common. 0:4. You can write it. So you can
but
write.
can't be done with the combination of other singular column if I have to call.
You can
Like
do
there are
that. I
10
understood.
columns.
Got it. Got it. So what you're asking is, so that you cannot do directly using ILOC. I got what you're asking. So what he is
Uh-huh.
asking is a good point actually. I explored it. So what he is asking is, let's say zero continuous column. You can kind of extract, right? But if I want non-continuous, let's say 1 and then 6 and then 8 and then let's say 2 and then 5, like that I can write the column names, I can write. But if it is a huge like of list, number of columns is more, let's say 10, 15 random columns, then there is a way to write it. Simple syntactical changes. What I will do is I will add that code. I got your point. That is what you're asking, right? Not continuous. Let's say 0 to 3 means 0 1 to 3, 0 1 2, right? 3 to 5 means 3 and 4. But how to select random columns? That is what
Uh,
you're asking.
Uh, okay, I will give a little explanation. So consider that I have 15 columns, ma'am, and in the column argument, I'm just mentioning 0 colon 6. So I will be getting 0 to 5, 0 to 6 columns. But then 0 colon 6, comma, then I'm calling 10th column, then I'm calling 11th column, then I'm calling 15th column. So that combination is not working when I'm calling with the colon function and the singular columns. Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, sorry. uh yeah, so I mean, for those kind, I got it. Like initially you want to select some continuous column and after that random columns, right? So one request I will do, so in case you have some doubts, I told you, right? So what you need to do is, can you please send me the Jupyter notebook with your question, and then you what you want to kind of what you want help in, right? For example, this question you can write it so that we can save time, or else if you can post it in the chat window right before we start the class, that will be helpful, right? Both of this thing will work. So you can do
Okay.
that, but yes, we can do that, but there is a way how we can write it, right? The syntax for this, basically it's not only by writing within a list. You need to write all the columns that you want to select, multiple columns, random columns. And I forgot, there is a keyword we need to use, not directly using df syntax. I think there is another way to do it, but I can share you the code. I forgot the syntax. I have used it. So 0 to 3 and then 10 column you want, and then let's say 35 column you want, and then again let's say you want 11 to 15, and then you want 45 columns. So random, that is called random selection here and there, right? So you can do it. This is possible.
Hello, ma'am. Sorry, I'll
Yeah,
not take much time, ma'am. To make you,
yeah.
ma'am, I have one thing. So yesterday in the evening session, we discussed about the is null part. The is null part was just depicting for the column-wise data, right?
Yes.
So if we can transpose and then apply the is null and once again transport, so is it allowed, ma'am? Is it the right way? If you
Isnal
want
will
to
give you
find
true
null
false,
across the
boolean,
axis,
boolean. No, Isnal will give you boolean return. So dot sum will give you number of records present, right? Which is missing in particular column.
yes.
Transpose, why you want to do transpose here?
Ma'am, is null is just giving true false column wise. So yesterday we tried with axis
No,
equal
no,
to
no,
0 and
no,
1
no.
axis was not a parameter.
It will
So we
not
can
give you
transpose.
column wise. Sorry, it will not give you row wise. Isnal will only applicable at column level. Row level, if you want to find null, there is a way. You can manually write some function. So is nan, right? Like nan value equals to if it is there, then you can count variable. Like you have to write your manual code. So you can write your own function. What I mean to tell, but is null is only applicable at column level.
Okay, so in that case, if we transpose, the rows will become column, columns will become rows. So in that case, if I do it, is it okay, ma'am?
That
Like,
way, like if your rows have some meaning, then only transpose will help. Yeah, you can do that. So columns will become rows, rows will become columns. Then isnol will apply. So simple logic is whatever is the column, on that it will apply isnol. Whatever is the column, right? Okay, so
yes,
what I will suggest is if you have certain doubts like this, what you can do is send me your Jupyter notebook. You have my mail ID, you can send me the Jupyter notebook. I will reply back. So if I see your question and if I see your doubt, that will be helpful. Otherwise, if it is a small doubt, you can ask me in the class, no problem, right? Or in the initial chat, if you can, at least in the chat window, if you can paste your doubts, I can read through quickly, I can understand, right? Okay. So,
sure, ma'am.
Manish, I got your question. I forgot the exact syntax. Long back, I have used the code. I forgot, but there is a way to do that, right? I will share you the code maybe tomorrow.
Sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. So what
Uh,
we will do is let us connect tomorrow. I'm really getting late. Shaban, yeah, I
Ma'am,
can
one
take
last
your.
question. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Ma'am, tomorrow in the morning we have class or we don't have the class, ma'am? You said Tuesday and
Advance?
Thursday, right? Yes, ma'am, advance.
No. Advance. So tomorrow we have class. Friday, right? Tomorrow? Yeah, we have class.
Yes,
Saturday there
Friday.
will be no class, and then we will connect next week. Tomorrow there is class for
Okay,
advance. Right?
okay, okay. Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone.